ASMR artist that I very much enjoy at the moment, who goes by the name of Pink's ASMR, as well as ASMR Reality, two American YouTubers who make kind of blog lifestyle advice. Not really lifestyle, more like just I guess you could call it like motivational type stuff, but and this is not going to be motivational. This is just taking some advice from them, which is to like make a video diary type thing. I have made occasional life updates in the past, but usually like one a year or something. So it's been a long time since I gave you guys an update on things. So I think I'm going to title this video probably like Life as a Doctor in the UK. Maybe just Life as a Doctor. I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to be. I've also not even thought about what I'm going to say. So it's going to be very much off the cuff. It's not going to really be advice. So if you are a newly qualified doctor in the UK or America or whatever, or anywhere, or you're a medical student, this is, I'm gonna preface by saying this is not advice. This is not like what to expect or like how to be type video. This is literally my own experiences, and like it'll probably be a combination of the good, the bad, the ugly type of thing. And there's really no structure to it either, because at the end of the day, I like these to be off the cuff, raw, as unedited as possible. So you guys can always just get bored and fall asleep. It's not meant to be ultimate entertainment. I have my hydration with me. I also, getting into the festive spirit early, I have my mince pie, which I'll be enjoying soon, but I guess I'll just get into it. I'm still in my work scrubs, which I got home and I was thinking about doing this video on the way home in the car. As you can see, I am still in my like work uniform scrubs. That is not like a style choice. I just got home, and on the way home I was thinking about possibly making a video like this, and I thought maybe it would be kind of a good thing for the algorithm, maybe to be in scrubs for it. So I've just not changed out. I got home. What time is it now? 7 o'clock, 7 PM. I got home about half an hour ago, roughly. Usually I get changed straight out, or get changed before I leave the hospital. But yeah, I was thinking, well, I'd prefer to do this a bit later, so I have time to kind of like chill out at home before I'm making a video. But I'm not gonna be that guy who's gonna get changed back into scrubs for like the sake of a video. So here we are. But anyway, so yeah, I am a newly qualified doctor in the UK. I trained in London at one of the London universities. I'm not gonna like give too many details for privacy reasons throughout the video, but I'm now working outside of London, not too far though, in another city, or like in a small town outside of a big city, and I'm living in the big city, near to that small town where my work is, the hospital I work at is located. So I started in August or the end of July. It is now basically mid-November, so it's been 3.5 months, near enough, or just over, but always kind of had the sense of is that like I might be wrong, but like, and it could just be biased because obviously all of the content that I consume or have consumed and get recommended on YouTube is all going to be like medical stuff. Just making sure my video is working properly. But it always seems like a lot of like focus in terms of content is made on starting as a junior doctor, whereas you don't see as many videos of my first 3 months working as a lawyer or something, or even working at like a supermarket, or literally anything, working in, finance or something. I may be wrong though. I may be wrong. Like I said, it could just be bias, like selective bias, or whatever you call it. But either way, I think looking back and reflecting on the past 3 months before I started, I was so nervous, like life-definingly nervous. Leading up to that first day, I had like a week of induction beforehand, but that first day actually on the job, where I was taking over the role of, it's called a foundation year 1, so you're fresh out of university. I was taking over for the previous F1s who were on my ward. I remember thinking what is going to happen, whatever happens the next few weeks and maybe month or so, is going to literally define my life, which is just crazy, a crazy way to think. But I knew that it was a kind of very exaggerated and dramatic way of thinking, but you have to remember. So I did 3 years at university doing biomedicine, because I didn't get into medicine the first time round. Then I took a year out from university and I built up kind of like my CV for a personal statement. So I did a lot of volunteering and like work experience type stuff so that I could successfully apply to medical school. Then I realised that actually I wanted to do a master's, because I didn't not feel ready for medical school, but I just felt like I wanted to have like a backup, which might sound like I don't believe myself, but I was just trying to be pragmatic. So, but like these typically competitive courses, like application competitive. I mean, like you have no idea if you're actually going to get in unless you're like super qualified and whatever and competent. And yeah, I guess it's a mix of doubting myself a bit and also a bit of pragmatism. So, because I know people who have tried year on year to get into medicine for like 6 or 7 years, no joke, even more than that actually. And I didn't want to be that guy. So, so I did a master's in something I knew I was interested in, so that I would be more qualified and more likely to get in. But also, in the case that I didn't get in, like the first, or at a push after maybe some heavy thinking after their second attempt, I had a really solid plan to fall back on. So anyway, cutting through all the bullshit, I got in first time round. Well, not first time, I guess second time technically, but like I got in, and then it's 5 years, so that's 10 years out of school, since being out of school, 18 years old, until I'm 28 now, until I was, actually qualified imagine that's at 14 years old. Let's say, for sake of ease, I was 28 when my dream was realised, which is your entire life over 14 to 18 is like me now at 28 wanting to do something and become something and only becoming it at 56 years old. Like, proportionally, that's crazy. That's crazy. So all of this is built up in my head that like I had to, one, be competent at the job, most importantly, and be actually a good doctor. Two, I had to enjoy it. And that's it, actually. Yeah, that's it. There's two things. I felt like I had a third thing in my head before I started doing the 1-2 thing. Being competent. Yeah. And being happy. That's probably it, actually. Sorry if I keep cutting. I don't really like these videos to be that edited, but like, it's crazy how many vans go past my window that are like driving in like first gear, so they're like revving really high. So annoying. But anyway, so annoying. But anyway, my first day, I remember it like almost every minute of it. It feels like my first day was so hard. like I know the thing is, I'm saying this may as well be, first day as anything like a job with like a reasonable amount of responsibility, but like it was so much pressure, like, and it's just absolutely crazy how strong the feeling, the sense of imposter syndrome is. I've had this feeling of imposter syndrome since I basically started medical school. It's so hard to shift. It's this kind of toxic self-doubt that just sticks in the back of your mind through every single interaction, every single moment, every single step of the way through your professional life. And it's so hard, you can't even logic the sense of it. But yeah, it's always there, and it was just so there on the first day. It's still there, which I'll come on to. But yeah, that first day was very, very hard. Very, very hard. They give you induction, like I said, and they give you a couple of days actually on your ward, but kind of like shadowing the person that you're going to be taking over for in like 2 or 3 days from that point. But I've always been a real like scaredy cat. Like, I guess day-to-day things in my life, I am fairly confident. I like to think, like, I feel like I'm a fairly confident person. But when it comes to my job, my confidence is so like intrinsically tied to my emotions and like how I feel I'm performing. So like I can be feeling like the absolute dog's bollocks one day where like everything is going well, even if I've got like loads of stuff to do and I've got lots to think about, if I feel like I'm in control, I'm like the most confident guy there, everything's clicking. But then, if something doesn't go my way, or like I feel like I've messed up or something, or like I feel like I don't know something well enough, my confidence just boom, through the floor. So, and then the day, like today was a difficult one, but the first day, today, many days over the past 3.5 months, where that doubt just like sets in, that's when my confidence just shatters. Whereas other people, true confidence, like true confidence, or at least the true ability to fake confidence, is where you can across as confident, even when things are not looking ideal. Put it that way. But yeah, so yeah, that first day was difficult. Lots to do, but we're well into this phone video, and I've still not really said anything about actually what I do. So I think, just based off the length of the video, I want to see how much I've recorded so far, because I don't want to go on and on and on and on, and we can always make more videos like this, obviously. So it looks like I've probably recorded about 15 minutes so far, but so we'll talk a bit more, and I'll actually give some specifics. So my day-to-day, I work, I'm contracted to work anywhere between 45 and 50 hours a week, so actually not that bad, really, considering everything, all things being equal, everything being considered. I don't know what the correct phrase would be, but yeah, it can feel like a lot though, honestly, because it's that many hours of like intense work all the time. Every day I have to force myself to go for a break, because I'll go for my lunch or something, because otherwise you could just work a solid for 9 hours. 9 to 12 hours, so my standard working day is 9 to 5. Got out today, 5:30, so not so bad. But then you also have long days where you're holding, it's like a bleep, like you see on like Grey's Anatomy or whatever, where it goes like, and it tells you a number that are trying to contact you for some reason. So for me, it's like I'm right at the bottom of the chain. So if something's kind of gone, someone needs the advice, like medical advice, like another staff member needs medical advice for something, usually something simple, or like they're just slightly worried about a patient who's maybe deteriorating slightly, they'll contact my bleep if I'm holding it. Otherwise, if it's something more serious, they'll contact the guy above me or the guy above them, or ultimately the guy above them, which would be the consultant, or in America, the attending. That's what they call the most senior doctor, attending. But those days are 12 hours, so 9 to 9. You pretty much always get out on time for those ones, because it's like you're handing over to the night team, or the night team handing over to the day team, so there's no reason for you to stay long unless you're actively involved in some kind of like emergency situation or something that runs over your time. But then there are nights, so those will be from 9 PM till 9:30 in the morning, and you either do 4 days in a row, or 4 nights in a row, or 3 nights in a row. And there are various other types of shifts which are pretty much the same length. So there are none of these kind of like typical, like I said, Grey's Anatomy style working for 24 hours straight, or working for 48 hours straight, crazy stuff. That doesn't happen here, at least, which is good. And the support is pretty good as well, because I've heard some pretty terrible horror stories in the NHS. But I work on a respiratory specialty ward, so usually it's patients who have acutely become unwell, usually on like the background of more chronic things that make them kind of like vulnerable to like acute respiratory illnesses, like infections or whatever, or just like exacerbations of their chronic illnesses, like COPD or asthma or whatever. So generally I would say 50% of the ward, of the patients on my ward that are under like my care, or at least that I am involved in their care, because I would never be solely responsible for a patient, they are they will be very acutely unwell. They'll be very, very unwell, so it takes a lot of work. They can be quite stressful because they like to deteriorate. Sick people ways where it's like patients kind of, it's really hard to not, but it's like patients just become like their illness, and in a way you kind of do have to separate patients from the situation a little bit. And I don't like dehumanizing, because it sucks to dehumanize, but for your own mental health sometimes you need to, so like that's something else I could probably come on to later, but yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get into that right now because that maybe is a topic for a later video, so I'll just leave it at that. But the imposter syndrome, that feeling is crippling. It could be so crippling, like today. So today, people always talk about like being prepared and like be like a doctor or whatever, but no one really talks about, or at least it's not talked about enough, just the depth of self-doubt that can come with the job. Like the whole job is surrounded around like clinical interest and like and just depth of scientific understanding, and ultimately to provide good care for patients and to be like the person with the ultimate responsibility for that patient. So never would I be ultimately responsible because I'm too low down. Ultimately it's like the consultant or attending, but responsibility still lays on your shoulders. Decisions need to be made minute to minute, hour to hour, and not everything can be made by your senior. So like, even if they seem like small decisions, they don't feel like small decisions, like prescribing something or like deciding at the moment that something is not that big of a deal. So like, for example, a patient that I saw today, I didn't have breakfast. Woe is me, but whatever. I didn't have breakfast. I was so tired from the morning because it was just like a lot of thinking, constantly thinking and like doing things. And I was just about to go for my lunch. It's like 2 p.m. and a patient who was under my care started having chest pain. And when a patient has chest pain, especially in these kind of acute settings, or like just in these settings in general, in the hospital setting, medical setting, you just have to rule out the scary stuff, the bad stuff, like heart attack and whatever. And I was like, I remember thinking, and I hate when I feel this way, but I always feel like the thought that always pops into my head in these moments where like all I want to do is go take a break, take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to go have my lunch and then come back, or if I've just had like a really shitty day or something, I just think like, oh, come on, can you just like stop having chest pain? And it's like such a like non-thought, because it's like, what do you mean? Like, you are the responsibility. This is the reason that you're doing this job, is so that you can be the person to kind of solve these issues. And like immediately I know what needs to be done, and I'm just dreading the whole process. Like from beginning to end, I can see what's going on, and so I have to go assess the patient to make sure there's no other signs of anything sinister. And I remember he was saying things, and I'm like thinking, because this guy's a bit of a hypochondriac, but it doesn't matter. Like, I would never allow that to bias me. If someone's experiencing something, they're experiencing something. He's like, I'm in 10 out of 10 pain. And I was like, so you're in 10 out of 10 is 1 out of 10 pain is like you've stopped your toe or something. Well, not really actually, because that's pretty painful, but like, it's like a paper cut maybe. 10 out of 10 is like the most painful thing you have ever experienced, or like you can even conceivably experience, you can even conceive of, right? And he was like, yeah, it's 10 out of 10 pain. And I was like, how is your breathing? He's like, it's fine. He's like talking in full sentences and everything. He wasn't sweating. It wasn't like shaking. There's nothing other than the pain in his chest. And I was just in my head thinking like, how can you be in say it, I have to document it, and if I document it, I have to do something about it, which obviously I will, but like, it's like, are you seriously saying you're in 10 out of 10 pain? Anyway, and this went on loads of different things. Pain radiating down like his right arm, and with like a heart attack you'd expect the left arm, or up to the jaw, to the back. It can radiate to the right arm. It's just like little things where it's like, to the right arm, like, I wouldn't expect that to be, like, it's weird though, like, why is it radiated to the right arm? Like, that could be something even worse actually, technically, but anyway, so I'm like, okay, fine. He just had his lunch as well. It's probably just indigestion. It's probably just reflux, right? He just had a big meal with a bunch of chips and lemonade and stuff. But I'm like, doesn't matter. So get an ECG on him, or an EKG in America. Do bloods to check for like cardiac enzymes and stuff, and just go from there. Give him, reasonable pain relief and stuff. He had a spray for his heart pain. Didn't have much of like a cardiac history though, so left at that. His ECG came back and like it was completely fine, other than one thing on it, which was like, what am I even looking at? I genuinely didn't even know what it was, and so I asked my senior, and he didn't know either. I asked his senior, and she didn't know, so we had to get a repeat, because it's probably just like an artifact or something. But I had to like hand it, and then I had to hand that over, and I had to chase the bloods and stuff, which is like totally fine. Like this is the job, it's totally fine. But all the while, I'm just thinking like, I need my lunch. Desperately need my lunch. After like an hour, it was all fine, and it was all good. But yeah, it's just tiring. But the situation pales in comparison, I think, to the stress that comes with feeling like an imposter, and feeling like I don't know anything. I suffer from I feel like I've got really bad memory. I also think I might have like ADHD or something, because my concentration is so bad. But who has the time to check up on that stuff? But when it comes to like discussing patients with like my seniors or with other faculty teams in the hospital, I am just like crippled by the sense of like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know anything. I hope they don't ask me any questions, because I'm not going to be able to answer them, I don't think. And this happens daily, like all the time, because once you do in the morning we do a ward round, and sometimes I'll see the patients on my own, which is kind of scary in itself, but I'll see them and formulate a bit of a plan, which will usually be really simple, because again, I don't trust myself. And then at like midday we all meet up and we do like a whole team meeting with like the nurses and physiotherapists and things like that, and like the admin teams and stuff. And it's usually only like 10-15 people at absolute most, sometimes it's less. With all the other doctors, invariably they're all more senior than I am, because of course the whole point is to disseminate information, to discuss the patients, any like questions you might have, any thoughts you're having. But the most prominent thing that's always in my head when it comes to me to talk about the patient that I've just seen is like, one, can I even remember the case? Can I remember all the background of the patient? Can I remember all of the tests that have been done, the investigations? Can I remember what my examination findings were? Do I remember all of the plan that I kind of put together? Do I remember the discussion that I had with this team on the phone regarding the patient was? And it's never in my head, at least at the forefront of my head, is how can I make sure that this patient gets better? Which sucks, which really sucks. And I have to keep reminding myself of that every moment of the day, forget that for 99% of the day. I'm always just thinking like about myself and how I'm feeling. I'm feeling sorry for myself, basically, which really sucks. It's less bad now. I'm getting into the rhythm of things more often, but still there's downs up there. And as far as people, because I've had this discussion with people, this is not something I've been keeping bottled up to myself. People say they experience it themselves as seniors as well, all the time, which helps to hear. It sucks for them, but helps to hear. But still, it's stressful, but no different to any other job, I imagine. This comes with every job, I think, and that's something that my partner grounded me with the other day. A few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, I was just doubting every single decision I had made up until the point of becoming a doctor. Like, why have I done this? This is the worst thing. It's just so stressful. I hate my job. I don't even enjoy like any aspect of it. I was like in a real rut, being so melodramatic, and I was like, I just wish I could do something else. And my girlfriend was like what? And I remember when she said that, I thought she was saying like, I can't do anything other than be a doctor because that's what I've trained to be. So I remember I responded to it all kind of like, I could do other things. Like, what are you talking about? And she was like, no, like what? Like, what are you thinking you're gonna do? Because it's not that you don't have an idea, it's that you're only feeling this way because what you're doing is of high responsibility, and it's high responsibility because it is worthwhile to do. Not that low responsibility jobs are not worthwhile doing, but like just the essence of what it is worthwhile doing. It's stressful because you care. You've worked so hard to get here, blah 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 blah. Like, I've heard that a lot. That's kind of, that doesn't really help hearing that, but like the rest was like, it's just like, if you're gonna do something else, you'd want to do something that you care about and that you're passionate about, like what she does, and like what many of you do, all of you do, I imagine. And with that comes this level of stress, comes these feelings of inadequacy, and it's just part of the process. And it's just learning how to deal with those feelings and those emotions and that stress. And that's actually a good probably ending point to this video, because that's what this is right now. This is detoxing for me. Doing ASMR, playing Minecraft, doing ASMR craft and all that stuff. My server, join it. But like going to do stupid shit on the weekend with my partner and friends and whatever, and making videos and watching ASMR. Oh my god, watching ASMR is literally the best relaxation method I could think of. And yeah, overall, I've gone through basically all the bad stuff. But that's because that's what's all